Hey everyone, welcome to another video for Technique Junkies. My name is Tracy, and today I'll be showing you how to do this kind of cool resist technique. It's pretty easy. So we'll be using the Blooming Wildflower stamp, and this one is from the April release. Let me just zoom out here a little bit for you so you can see a little bit better. And that's the only stamp I'm going to be using. So I've got my stamp and I've got my stamping platform, and I have a little grid on here so I can line things up. If you don't have a grid, no worries. Just take a piece of tape and make yourself a little jig. And the reason for that is because I'll be pulling this off of here to help it dry. And I want to make sure I get it back in the same spot. So I'll just put my little jig there. And then I'll just put my little magnet, well, I'm going to lay my stamp on. And I'm just going to put my little magnet right there in that little corner and pull my stamp up from the platform. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to color the layers separately. So I'm going to start with my Mowed Lawn Distress Oxide, and I'm going to just tap in with my little finger blender all the areas that I feel should be green. That'd be, you know, the stems and leaves and stuff. And the Distress Oxide, it really goes on nicely with the blending tool. So I'm just going to make sure that I've got all the spots I think that need to be green, and then I'm just going to stamp it down. Give it a press. Then I've got my same tool. I'm going to dab it off just a little, and I'm just going to start to ink blend just around the areas that I just stamped. And the reason I'm doing this is because, you know, there needs to be some blending. You'd have to work pretty hard to get it perfect. So I'm just going to blend out each one of those little pieces before I go on to the next color. And because we're going to be doing a resist technique and the color we're going to be using, it's going to all blend nicely. You want to think about that when you think about your dark background color. Is it going to blend? Because the oxides are very hard to blend over. They tend to want to come through. So I'm going to do this flower in the Seedless Preserves. Or was that picked raspberry? I can't, yeah, Seedless Preserves. And those two flowers, and I'm going to, again, just press them down. It's a pretty quick process. I do have this sped up, but just so you can see what I did to achieve the end here. So I'm blending this one out. Trying not to mix it up with the green. If I do, I do. It's not a big, huge deal, but I'm just trying not to. So I'll wipe off my stamp and I'll go on to my next color. For my next color, I'm going to use Worn Lipstick. And I'm going to do these flowers, and you just pick and choose the colors you like. Again, think about when you're going to be doing your dark background. I'll be doing mine in Twilight. Will these colors blend with it? Because if they don't blend, you're going to get a weird color, that's all. So you probably wouldn't want to do a dark green background with all these pinks, because it'll leave a little bit of a glow. And there you see me just smudging those in. And next I'm going to go in with Wild Honey. I'm going to get this kind of sort of central flower. It's got the most offshoots, I guess. Again, it's a pretty quick process. And I was just wiping off a little bit that got on to where the green is. I'll stamp then. It doesn't even have to stamp perfectly because we're going to be doing a resist technique on it. So I'm just kind of pouncing my little tool here and pouncing in that color. Okay, and then finally I'm going to go in with this, let me just blend that up a little bit better. I'm going to go in with the Squeeze Lemonade and get all the tiny flowers. And the same process, just stamp it down. And use my little pressy tool to press down that stamp. And I see right there in that corner I need to press a little bit harder and then go ahead and blend out that squeezed lemonade. And I'm just tapping it in here and there. And I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to leave my tape. I'm going to wipe off my stamp, and I'm just going to move the whole platform, leaving the stamp in there. And what we want to do is we want this to dry. So I'm going to get out my little silicone mat here, and I'm going to dry it a little bit with the heat tool, but I'm also going to just give it some time because the oxides take a long time to dry. So it can feel dry and it might not be dry. So you want to test it. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my clear embossing powder and I'm just pouring it over, and as long as it taps off, then we're good to go. But I am doing it over the whole thing because there can be wet spots you don't want. Tapping off. Okay, good to go. And I do like to, afterwards, I do like to take my paper towel and just wipe it off. Now I'm going to bring back my stamping platform. And my stamp is still in place. I'm going to place my little paper down next to my jig. Put my little magnet down. Make sure that's lined up. That doesn't even have to be perfect, honestly, because we did blend out those colors, but you want it pretty close. And I'm going to, I need to get my anti-static powder bag here. And I'm just going to wipe down my picture with the anti-static powder bag, and then I just blow it off. I like this bag better than that brush tool. I just don't feel like it gets enough anti-static powder on. Then I'm going to go in with my Versamark. And I do this twice just to make sure I get full coverage, because it's very, very hard to see on top of the oxides. Sorry about the bouncing there. I didn't realize it was doing that. Take you for a ride jumping on the bed. Okay, and then I'm just going to stamp that down. I think my little magnet's kind of in the way here. Want to make sure I get complete contact. Then I'll use my little pressure tool to press it down. My chunky. All right, now I'm going to go in a second time without even thinking about it. I just know I need to go a second time. Now I'm going to have to deal with figuring out why that is bouncy like that. Probably because where I have my camera. Okay, and again, just use my pressure tool. Make sure I've got it good and wet on there. And you can kind of see it. I'm going to move my stamping platform. And watch silly me, I forget to put the embossing powder on, and I start to dry it, and I'm thinking, why isn't it embossing? Okay, because I forgot to put the embossing powder on. All right, so let's do that. So I'm going to pour embossing powder all over the whole thing, and this is just some clear, I want to say it's Ranger clear embossing powder. I don't know, I dumped it all in here a long time ago. I bought a bunch of it and just dumped it all in. But I do want to make sure that I'm getting full coverage, and I'm just lightly thumping, very lightly. Maybe a little bit more there on the bottom. Okay. I'm just going to take my heat tool and heat emboss this, and you can watch it change pretty quickly because I've been warming up my heat tool. And you don't want to overheat it, just go until you see it turn clear and move on. Now the next step, you could do it with black, and that would be a traditional Joseph's coat technique. And I did one with black, but I wasn't really that happy with it. I felt like I need a dark color, but I don't want it to be black. So we're going to let that completely cool before we move on to the next step. And I'm just double checking, making sure I have all the areas embossed. And I like to let it cool for a good minute or so, because if you start rubbing on it while it's still kind of tacky, it kind of wrecks the finish. See, I'm rubbing on it and no, it's not ready. All right, now it's cooled off. Let me just clean off my mat here for the next step. So I'm going to take my VersaFine Clair, and I'm using the Twilight color, and I'm going to heavily ink blend this Twilight color on here. And then I like to wipe as I go, just to make sure. And I'm not worried about getting ink spot, you know, pieces or anything like that. I want it as dark as possible. You could do multiple coats if you needed to. But you see how it's creating kind of a glow around those flowers because of the color ink blending that I did initially. The oxide kind of, you know, like I said, it doesn't blend perfectly. It doesn't, this pigment ink doesn't hide the oxide at all. Well, it hides it some, but not much. That's why it's important to get colors that will blend well with the color you choose to do on your background. So we'll just get that wiped up. And now we've got kind of like a night sky here, and with our beautiful wildflowers. And I'll go ahead and trim this down to 4 by 5 1/4. Yeah, I'll take a little off the top, not much, but a sliver barely. Okay, and then I'm gonna grab a white card base. Now I like to color in the outside edges. You can do it with the brush like this, or you can just take your ink and drag it along there. I just like to hide that white core. All right, let us grab a white card base. Bear with me here. There we go. And I'm just going to take my Reptile adhesive, and I am going to glue this panel down to the card base, and this is a top fold card base. I'm going to get it on there even as I can, being me. And I'm just going to lay something flat on it, and then I'm going to give good pressure all over to help it adhere. Now these are some of my stash die cuts, and I die cut this one out 3 times and glued it together so it could have some dimension. I didn't want to cover those flowers by stamping and then cutting out a shape. I really wanted to highlight the flowers. So I'm going to be using my distressed collage medium for this. Oh, look at my hair in the way. Nice. Oh well, yeah. All right, flip it over. And I'm going to lay that on there where I want it, and then I'm going to lay something flat on it again and just kind of hold it until it starts to adhere. And it doesn't take too long, but I don't want it to move around on me. So now I do want to put some, sort of bling on there, and I think I want to put these little water drop type bling just for a springtime feel, because you know, rain in the spring. I'm going to take my glossy accents, and I guarantee you it's clogged right now because it's clogged every time I go to use it. Nope, still clogged. Try it again. Okay, get that little bubble off, and I'm just going to lay the glossy accents where I want to put my embellishments here. So I'm going to put 5. And I'm just going to kind of put them here. Oh, sorry about that. There's my head in the way. I'm going to lay them on my card because they always land the wrong side up. Well, that one doesn't want to stick there. Okay, we'll put it there. I think I lost my little glossy accents spot. There we go. Yeah, I think I'm going to deal with my camera situation because we don't need my big fat head in the way. Okay, there we've got our little little water type embellishments on there and our little sentiment. Again, this is the blooming wildflowers. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Have yourself an awesome day.